If you've been noticing more things like allergies or food sensitivities or even migraines as you go deeper into perimenopause, this is the episode for you. Tune in to learn why these things can get worse in perimenopause, how to understand the estrogen histamine link, and what you can do to improve it. Let's dive in.
What's up, sister? Welcome back to the Period Whisperer podcast, the show helping perimenopause and menopause women de-stress your body and decode what it's saying to you so you can own your own health, energy, and weight loss again. If you're new, I'm so happy you're here. I'm Bria. I'm your host, a recovering people pleaser and hustle addict turned functional and holistic hormone specialist. Let's lean in and learn what your body is saying to you.
Hey there, sister. Welcome back to this episode of the Period Whisperer podcast. And today we're going to dive a little bit more deeply into, I think, something that isn't talked about a ton here in perimenopause, but it's such an important piece. I'm hearing it more and more, certainly from my clients coming to me about suffering with, things like migraines, things like more food sensitivities, meaning like more bloating, more digestive issues, and even more allergies in general, and it seems almost cyclical at times. It can seem like it's worse sometimes in the month and not so bad sometimes in the month, and there is an explanation for that. And of course, in perimenopause, so this might be something you've struggled with for a long time, but in perimenopause, when our hormones are fluctuating, and especially our progesterone most commonly is dropping first, we can start to understand more why this is happening. And of course, when we know why, we can get to the root cause of these things in our body so that we're not suffering so much. And it really all comes down to this estrogen histamine connection. I think when we think about histamine, we often, we automatically think about allergies. I know I think about an antihistamine to help with allergies if you're having seasonal allergies or if you have allergies to different things. And histamine plays a role in the body in a lot of ways, but it has a very specific connection to especially higher estrogen. And when we're thinking that there are times in our cycle when our estrogen is high, and I will walk you through this, but also when we're going through perimenopause, what most commonly, this is not for always, but for most women, especially if you're suffering with these symptoms or stuck weight or more anxiety or tender breasts or really heavy periods, then we are often struggling with not enough progesterone and too much estrogen. And these two sex hormones specifically are symbiotic in nature. So that means that when there's not enough of one, there's too much of the other. So it might not even be that you have too much estrogen, because especially as we head closer to menopause, our estrogen does start to decline, gets a little erratic in there. But when there's not enough progesterone to balance that estrogen out, then we automatically have this imbalance in the body. And higher levels of estrogen can really drive up these histamine levels, these things that create a reaction that can cause things like, itchiness, allergy symptoms, food sensitivities in the body where we didn't have those food sensitivities before. I hear that a lot from women, and I know I've been through that myself. And this connection between these two, between high estrogen driving histamine levels up, can play a major role in even like having these heavier periods. So they almost kind of work together, creating more anxiety, more mood swings, more allergies, more skin issues, more of these migraines and headaches that we can get. So estrogen increases histamine by stimulating mast cells to release the histamine. These are the immune cells responsible for the allergic reactions and inflammation in the body. Histamine, in turn, boosts estrogen production, creating a really bad cycle. One's pushing the other, and the other one's pushing back, and now all of a sudden there's more of both. And then, of course, if we're in this imbalance already of estrogen and progesterone, then now we're going to be further in that imbalance because the estrogen's driving the histamine's driving the estrogen, and then it's all pushing that progesterone down, wreaking havoc on our ability to lose weight, our ability to feel calm, our ability to have regular periods still. And if that wasn't enough, progesterone stabilizes mast cells and really counteracts our histamine. But if progesterone is low, then the histamine just completely runs unchecked. So it's not even just a cycle, it's just almost like this tsunami of hormones that are going in the wrong direction. And ultimately, the result is more inflammation in the body, more allergies, and more hormonal symptoms, which is kind of what we're trying to avoid here. And why it gets worse, of course, around your period is because estrogen surges before our ovulation, so that mid time of our month, and once more before our period, which is what triggers those histamine spikes. And of course, progesterone drops right before menstruation, removing that protective, stabilizing effect, also making us feel more anxious, less calm, more moody at times, hungrier even. And this is what leads to PMS symptoms. This is what leads to histamine flares and worsened allergies and inflammation. So we want to make sure that we're understanding what is going on in our body. If you are someone who is having these really heavy clotty periods, if you're really having a difficult time losing weight, if you have struggling with a little bit more anxiety, then we can assume that there is an imbalance of estrogen and progesterone already in your system. And even if you're not having these histamine reactions in the form of headaches and migraines and food sensitivities and itchiness and dryness, it can be what is coming next for you. So we really want to watch out for these things, right? These cyclical migraines, hives or rashes or eczema that you maybe didn't have before, increase in your seasonal allergies, an increase in those digestive problems, especially if it's approaching that period time, right? If it's approaching your time when you are going to start a bleed or when you're expecting to. So what can we do about it, right? We now understand, okay, estrogen drives histamine, histamine drives estrogen, particularly when we're a little estrogen dominant or we're in perimenopause and our progesterone's just not coming to the table the way it should be. Which, by the way, progesterone is very, very sensitive to stress. So if you have been feeling more stressed lately, and I know I, for one, have been feeling the stress of the world, let alone my own life these days, or maybe you're working out extra hard, or you're not eating enough, or you're just watching too much of the news these days, you're experiencing this stress, and that is going to also suppress that progesterone. So we want to try to look to kind of two key areas of our body that are really responsible for breaking down our estrogen and our histamine specifically, and that is our gut and our liver. We call that a phase 1 and phase 2 metabolization. And I see this a lot on Dutch tests that I run for my clients, which is a dried urine test. It's like one of my favorite ways to have a really good look, not just at our production of sex and adrenal hormones, but really the pathways that they're taking, these phase 1 and phase 2 metabolization. And I really think about it like this. Once our hormones are created in the body and used, then they need to be moved out of the body. So they go first to the liver. And I think of the liver almost like the post office. So the hormones go to the post office, they get kind of packaged up in a nice, with their address on it, nice, neat, tidy package. And then they get sent down to shipping to the gut. And the gut is responsible for getting these hormones, specifically estrogen, any toxins really, but estrogen and histamine out of the body. But where things start to break down, and we see this a lot, I see this a lot on Dutch labs, is if the liver is not properly packaging up the estrogen, or the gut is not shipping it out, we start to have a buildup. Either of problems in either of these two areas is going to create a backup at the post office. And now we have even more estrogen and histamine in the body. And that is where a lot of the times we see so many symptoms, specifically like not sleeping very well, low energy, big cravings, lots of anxiety, inability to lose weight, bloating, puffiness, because of these areas of metabolization of these hormones. So your hormones are made, and you might actually have fine hormone production, but now all of a sudden they're not getting out of the body properly. And that's going to throw that balance off worse, because now the post office has the backlog. So in the liver, metabolizes estrogen down this pathway. And so a sluggish liver, if your liver is backed up already, perhaps from a lot of stress in your life, perhaps from eating inflammatory foods, perhaps from too many toxins in your environment, because the liver has a really, really, really big job. Like that post office has so many things coming to it. It's like Amazon at Christmas time, right? There's just so many packages coming into the liver at all times. And it will always prioritize your survival. So it's going to prioritize the most dangerous toxins and chemicals coming into the body first. And in that hierarchy, our sex hormones and chemicals like histamine are the low man on the totem pole. It's always going to prioritize exposure to toxins and chemicals in our environment, which could really damage us. And it's going to prioritize cortisol before it prioritizes the sex hormones. So when our liver is backed up or sluggish because of our lifestyle, because of our exposure to toxins, because of mineral deficiencies or vitamin deficiencies or nutrient deficiencies, it's going to get congested. And we can see this very clearly, sometimes on a GI map, which is a stool test, but also definitely on a Dutch lab, where we can really see how things are breaking down in there. Now, your liver might be doing okay, but even if it's not congested, maybe it's doing its job. But then we come down to the gut. And what's really important is that the gut produces something called DAO, diamine oxidase. And that is the kind of the opposing or the answer to histamine. So when histamine is released, DAO is meant to be released to kind of break it down and help it get out of the body. So if you are dealing with things like dysbiosis in your gut or leaky gut or maybe even SIBO, or these things will not only reduce your DAO levels and worsen histamine intolerance, but it will also make it harder for your gut to do its job by taking these packages it receives from the liver and getting it out of the body. So we're starting to see this tough cycle, and then it becomes even worse because now we have even more estrogen and histamine living in the body, causing more frustration for you in your symptoms, but backing up the liver further, keeping the gut from having what it needs to do its job. So what do we do? How do we fix this? Because you're sitting here, you're listening to me right now, and you're saying, "Okay, Bria, I'm having these issues. How do I start to feel better, or how do I prevent these issues from happening?" Well, of course, supporting your gut and liver function is going to be crucial for keeping your histamine and your hormones in check. So balancing estrogen and histamine requires, one, supporting liver detoxification to clear out your estrogen and histamine. And that looks like eliminating inflammatory foods. It looks like taking a really good look at your skincare, cleaning products, hair care products, beauty products, the exposure to chemicals in your environment and reducing those. It also can look like making sure that you're getting the right minerals in your body so that your body has the tools it needs to bind up these toxins and get them out, help that liver do its job. It can even look like doing something like a coffee enema, flushing that out. But even some really simple things like waking up in the morning, going for a walk can help with that lymphatic drainage, help support that liver. Starting your day with a really good adrenal cocktail or greens to help flush things out. Drinking lots of water with some added sea salts. Taking your magnesium. every single day. These are ways we can help support our liver in a really, really simple way. And of course, not adding to the problem by eating foods, by working on eating organic when you can, eating foods from the Clean 15 and the Dirty Dozen online, which show us how to choose the most take a look at the most toxic fruits and vegetables and choose the ones, buy the ones that we can that are organic if we can't buy everything. So, number one, of course, is supporting liver detox and clearing it to clear out that estrogen and histamine. Number two, of course, is going to be improving gut health and therefore the DAO enzyme function and just stabilizing these hormones in particular. And some of that might come down to getting a food sensitivity test done and having a GI map done. These are two functional labs that can really help you understand what is the state of your gut and how do we heal that mucosal barrier? How do we make sure the gut is doing what it can in order to help create these enzymes to break down the histamine so that we're not stuck in this little cycle here. So, one, supporting that liver, and two, really supporting that gut. And no matter what way you slice it, it always comes back down to these kind of key 4 pillars of health. Am I creating space to sleep and get quality sleep as often as possible? Or am I staying up too late or waking up too early? Am I getting that for my rest and my relaxation to help support my body do its job? Am I drinking water every single day and flushing my body out and making sure there's some electrolytes in those water? Am I eating inflammatory foods, or am I able to eliminate those key inflammatory foods, right? Alcohol, sugar, gluten, corn, GMO soy, those are some of our big heavy hitters. And am I removing foods that I know bother me completely? Am I walking every single day? Am I getting in enough protein every single day? Am I managing my stress? I know these things sound like a broken record. I see them all over the place on social media, but it doesn't matter what health podcast you listen to. If you want to build great health, it always is going to start with these foundations: sleep, functional movement, good quality nutrition, and stress management. And here's what I always want to say, sister, and this is things I say to myself as well. If I don't have these 4 things locked in, I need to ask myself why. Okay. And then I start to prioritize them. And if you can't, if for some reason you're having such a challenge being able to get the sleep that you need or staying asleep, figuring out your nutrition, figuring out how to schedule your life to get these walks in, then you know it is time to reach out for help, because either you need some support with accountability and just structure and direction, and that's where a great coach can come in and do that for you. Or perhaps the function has been so lost in your body that it is very difficult for you to do this on your own. And that's the value of having something, working with a functional practitioner like me, where you're going to get that coach piece, but you're also going to be able to get some type of testing to help you dig more deeply and find the root cause of your issues. Because we are so busy all of the time. And to sometimes go out and do all of the things that social media tells us to do is way too overwhelming. And when we try to do everything, we do nothing. When we work together with functional lab work, we can really isolate where the biggest mover, the lowest hanging fruit is going to be for you. I have a lot of clients that come to me primarily because they're like, I think my hormones are off, and they're having a lot of hormonal symptoms. But when we get into their body and correlate that with their symptoms, what we find often is that it's not their hormones. It's things throwing off their hormones. It's something beneath. It's the metabolization of those hormones. And that's really, really helpful to know, because it allows us to create a targeted approach to feeling better. Okay, sister, now you understand. You understand the estrogen histamine connection. We know why these things are getting worse. And we know that the answer to feeling better in these symptoms is going to be to focus on liver support and gut health and gut support. You've got some great tools. You know what to do. I know the world feels wild and out of control a little bit right now, but the most important thing you can do is take care of your health. When you feel good in your body, you can accomplish so much more. You can have so much more patience for the people around you. You can provide so much more energy out into the world, and I know you know that. So take this step. If you're stuck and you can't do these small steps that I've given you today, take the step and book a free call with me. Let's hop on a call. Let's see if we can better understand where the root cause of your issues are, and if working together is going to help you feel better. And if it's not, I will tell you, I will give you some very specific things to work on if I don't think I can help you in a bigger way, or if helping you in a bigger way is not even in your energy budget, time budget, or money budget right now. Go out, my dear, and be more in your life and not just less on a scale. We'll catch you in the next episode.
Thank you so much for joining me on the Period Whisperer podcast. If you liked this episode, take 30 seconds right now to write a review on iTunes, and then reach out to me directly on Instagram at Bria_period_whisperer and message me there with a screenshot of your review. As a thank you, I will give you a customized free hormone audit to get you on your way to the best health of your life in midlife.